Okay, so this piece was originally inspired by a guy named Ken Nicole, and he made a piece called A Grid of Matches. Basically, it was just a metal square with a whole bunch of matches in it. And then I got the idea, talking with Teresa, to make a structure out of matches somehow. And then for the time and duration, it's going to travel. The flame is going to travel all the way through the piece. Hopefully, that's the intention. And when I was making the piece, I also thought a lot about the Wolfgang Leib piece and collecting pollen and how tedious and meditative and annoying it was to create this piece. So I really hope it works. Some of them are melting over there.
Oh! Set the plate. So close.
Yeah, I'll have to start these other ones, unfortunately. Take into account the glue melting.
What are your thoughts as you watch the piece? Fire!
So hypnotic.
Yeah.
Very beautiful.
It is a really neat display of duration, because it actually takes a lot longer than I would have thought for it to burn. But I like this example of duration in terms of the objective.
Drop off.
No.
I think it's cool though that
I like
they
that
are.
they're dropping off.
The idea of destruction as duration is really interesting.
Yeah.
Like, it's super cool. I like the sound.
Yeah.
As it goes through match to match.
Did you anticipate that?
No, I didn't. Well, the sound I never, What I didn't anticipate is that they would be falling off from the melting of the glue.
It's really beautiful that they do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is actually cool because then it's like you're starting fresh.
So if it was a perfectly windless day, of course, the matches might not travel all the way around. Like at one point, it depended upon the wind to catch the
carry
flame.
it.
And this is the kind of thing that you can't well, you could test, but we're not going to test until this moment. So yeah, I think it's doing really good.
So you had some shifts in your approach to the material. I was surprised when I saw you using the hot glue gun. So do you want to talk a little bit about the process?
Well, I was using the clay, and then they weren't sticking, and I wasn't able to do this all in one day before the clay, because it was drying up, crumbling up, and it wasn't holding the matches. So, but now that I think about it, maybe a better idea would have been gluing it, and then maybe just put clay on the outside, or somehow like on the outside and on the inside to kind of just prevent the glue from melting. And that would have been faster than sticking each one in the clay. Maybe that would have been a better idea.
Yeah. And what about formally? What about the actual look of the piece? This is for your peers.
I really enjoy the pattern that you made with the matches, like rather than just making them straight across, how they zigzag. It's really beautiful.
I like everything except I'm not a huge fan of this side. I tried to make this kind of cool looking. I like how it wraps around the piece better.
It's an awful lot of chicken wire, isn't it? And how many matches?
It's 2,000.
So, okay, so what I can't get a grasp on is how you came to choose that much chicken wire in that T configuration. So first, I'm going to try to draw you guys out a little bit more. Like, does that have any bearing other than other than a fireproof support for the matches, for the design of the matches themselves?
Well, one reason is I wanted something clear, or something you could see through, so you can see it from both sides, so you can see the flame wrapping around from both sides. That was one reason.
It's a nice contrast because the chicken wire seems kind of light, and it like is a nice contrast against the stability.
I was hoping you would do that. Okay, so let me ask a little, I'm having trouble with the chicken wire. It looks haphazard. It looks like you didn't give yourself enough time to actually think about how much you wanted to use and why, and so why the entire roll in the center? Why not a single loop for each?
I don't know, I guess I just thought it would be stronger. It would be more structurally sound. Because this top thing is actually quite heavy. And it was, yeah.
I would have thought that it was because the flame spirals around and the pattern of matches spiral around. So I thought that was why you did the plane spiral and then the loop.
Okay, so what suggestions can you give Kristen for developing the piece further or improving this piece?
Indoors.
Indoors? No.
I know it's impossible, but if it was completely dark, and then she lit it, that would have been.
That would have been cool.
And then it would have just been the flame alone, And I think that's kind of what she was going for. So.
Yeah.
Come on now. The chicken wire is in a different
something going off.
configuration.
Yay,
Got us. Can't be us. What other suggestions? Hey Barrett, how are we doing?
Oh, now we're done.
Okay, we have a minute. That's hilarious. Could we be triggering that indoors?
Makes it feel
Could it be going through the vent?
the fire alarm.
Okay, Kristen, do you have aspirations to take sculpture next year? So I'm thinking about, you could use iron or steel or metal to actually create a really strong support. You can weld something together. You can make it really the chicken wire
Is it
the only
strong?
purpose is a support, right? And right now, it looks, I can see it too much, right? It really detracts from the shape as far as I'm concerned. So I would think about.
If I could have made a metal structure, yeah, I think it would have looked cooler, but at the same time, then you wouldn't have been able to